Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
It was an election night scare for the governor of Illinois. We talk with part of the team that almost pulled off an incredible political upset. And preparing for disaster, what are the plans for the unthinkable in the cities? There are people around the cities who plan for the worst, and we should be thankful. Next week, disaster experts will come together to think about the unthinkable. More on that in a moment. But first, an earthquake of a different type. Last week's Illinois primary sent seismic waves across the state's political landscape. Some say it should never have been that close, but Republican State Representative Jeannie Ives lost to Governor Bruce Rauner by just 20,000 votes in the Republican primary. The final tally has Rauner winning 51% to Ives' 49%. And joining us is Jeannie Ives' running mate, Rich Morthland. He serves, of course, on the Rock Island County Board. He has been a state representative from Rock Island County, and he came tantalizingly close to being the Republican nominee for lieutenant governor in 2018. What was your campaign? Was it grassroots? Was it insurgent? What exactly did? Where's this success from?
It's been described as both those things, Jim. And thanks for having me on the show again. I always appreciate it, and I always love the perspectives you take with this show. And it really is great broadcasting.
I appreciate that.
And of course, you know, I'm a former broadcaster myself.
Absolutely.
So I do appreciate public affairs programming. It really was a grassroots insurgency. I will tell you, I traveled the state more than I ever have, and it was really helpful that Blackhawk College's spring break came 1 week before the primary. So I spent that entire week on the road, and wherever I would go, I would talk to citizens, and I talked to, obviously we were looking for Republicans primarily, but I talked to people, citizens of the state of Illinois, and they'd all tell me the same story, that there was a straw that broke the camel's back for them in regard to supporting the incumbent. And time and time again. So there was this incredible groundswell of grassroots support. We were able to muster our petitions to get on the ballot in record time. We were able to organize so fast because everybody was that enthused and energetic. I've never been around a campaign like this. Was it chaotic? Yes. Yeah. It was a headlong sprint.
But the question would be, do you think, when you look back now at it, was it a pro-Ives vote, anti-Rauner vote, an anti-establishment vote? What do you think it was?
Once again, keep going, Jim. It was all those things, because Jeannie Ives is a very attractive candidate to people who are solid Republicans, the standard kind of folks who really want small government. That was what we were really running on. Smaller, more responsible government for the state of Illinois. The incumbent, and I wish him well in the general, I really wish him well in the general, but the incumbent had governed more like a North Shore plutocrat than he had like a man of the people, which is what he ran on the first time. I'm sure that's how he'll run again. Pull out the Harley and the Carhartts, go to town and say, I'm a man of the people. But the fact was that people were seeing through that because his policy didn't match.
Do you think, but so much of Bruce Rauner over the last 2 years, if not more than that, has been very much anti-Mike Madigan, anti the speaker, anti-gridlock in the legislature. It's continuing to be that. So he must have some type of research that says that resonates.
Well, and
do you see that it does?
No, it does resonate. It does resonate, but that's not all that's going on. It's like, yes, there's if you're going to throw blame at one person's feet in the state of Illinois, it should be House Speaker Michael Madigan. The man has been a member of the House since the Beatles were still making records. He has been Speaker of the House for all but 2 years, since 1983. And if you match that, obviously correlation isn't causation, but it matches Illinois' decline to a T. And so, yeah, he's huge, but even he was making some disingenuous disingenuous advertisements about Representative Ives.
You're talking about Bruce Rauner.
Yes, yes, the governor was making disingenuous advertisements about Jeannie Ives, saying that she was a Madigan shill. Far from it. She was Madigan's worst nightmare, and she intends to continue to be that moving forward. I don't know what her long-term plans are, but I do wish her well, and I hope she runs again in 4 years. And for me, I think I'm going to be kind of long in the tooth by then, and I think she should get a younger running mate.
But your ticket got 342,000 votes. Do you kind of sit there and go, oh, where could we have gotten the extra 23,000? I mean, is that something that you look back, or do you sit there and go, I can't believe we got that many?
No, I can believe we got that many because I was crisscrossing the state and I was talking to people and I could tell how deep the unrest was. No, I really wish we had had a more cohesive campaign structure, but that's hard to do. It ended up a lot being, and I'm not blaming anybody for this, but it ended up being like watching a bunch of 4-year-olds play soccer. They just chased the ball up and down the field in this little huddle moving, and that's kind of how the campaign felt. It wasn't organized and structured like a varsity team would be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I ask you also, is because you said you crisscrossed the state, and I kind of want to keep getting back at this. Do you think that the anger point for your fellow Republicans, as far as Bruce Rauner is concerned, is very much having to do with the budget and the school funding issue, in other words, economics and the government, or do you really think it was social issues, particularly his approval of the Democratic abortion bill that gave government funding of abortions?
Absolutely great question. It was all of the above and different for different people.
Okay.
Now see, for most people—
Because I've heard the abortion vote was hugely detrimental for Governor Rauner as far as some diehard Republicans, and that's who shows up at the primary.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And there was no question that we were more that we were obviously a superior ticket in that regard. And the lieutenant governor and the governor do not see eye to eye on that issue. I actually prefer her to him, and not to say anything against him, but in all sincerity, for some people, it was social issues. But the thing is, if you're a social conservative, and somebody does something you don't like, you stomp your feet, you go to church, you complain to your friends, you may hang over your fence and talk with your neighbors if you think they're like-minded to you, but on the bread and butter issues, you put a for sale sign in your yard, and that's what's happened to Illinois. Jeannie Ives used to talk about Illinois' long, slow going out of business sale, and that's exactly what has been happening.
Do you think that would continue to happen under another term under Governor Rauner?
Far less so than J.B. Pritzker.
That is a political answer. Well, I would expect that to be said, but that is a political answer. So, I mean, I just have this feeling that because Representative Ives never called Governor Rauner after the election, to the best of my knowledge, still has not spoken to him. You bring up the advertisements that the Rauner campaign put against your campaign. I just have this really strong feeling that there is no love lost, at least between the two campaigns.
I'd say that's a fairly accurate assessment, Jim.
So how does one mend those, or does it even need mending?
Well, I am not at liberty to talk about what I'm doing, but I'm taking steps to try to have a stronger Republican Party moving toward the general. And we'll have to see how that works out and how that plays out. But I'm acting on my own, independently of my former running mate. And there weren't any pictures of me. They put out a mail piece that really had distorted her face into a grotesque Quasimodo-esque figure. At some point, that gets really personal. I've lost a race like that in the past. This one, I woke up Wednesday morning, I was a happy new man because I got my life back, and none of the bad stuff was really ever on, none of it. You know, my name appeared 3 places. On the actual ballot, of course, in a piece of campaign literature that we put out, and in a little blurb on the website. That's it. I was persona non anything else. And so the kind of pain that accrues in a loss, and I will tell you, it is profound. It really shakes a person up. It did not accrue to me in this campaign. So I can't imagine. I know that Representative Ives is working very hard. I think she has a great plan for how she's going to work to help the state in the coming years, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do as well.
Do you think she should have called the governor to congratulate him or to concede?
I don't think she's done anything wrong.
Let's talk about the race ahead, because as you saw, I mean, you saw what it's like to have the Rauner administration campaign, well, I shouldn't say the administration, the campaign in particular, aim its guns at you. You've seen J.B. Pritzker's advertisements as well. These are two very well-armed billionaires who are happy to, can I say fling mud? I mean, both sides are obviously painting their opposition in the worst possible way, but isn't that politics anyhow?
Oh, absolutely. It is politics, but they're not just flinging mud. They're flinging concrete laced with axle grease so that it'll stick, and that's how they're campaigning. And I'm not giving guidance to either campaign. So, but you know, I don't expect that we're going to have a kinder, gentler approach to November in Illinois in the gubernatorial campaign.
You are a student of politics, though, and you are a veteran in campaigns. You do know the effectiveness of these type of ads, even though the public cries foul and they say, oh, this is terrible, and oh, we're not going to vote. In some ways, it does really rile up the base and gets people to the polls. So, I mean, can we have it both ways? Can we say, oh, we have to be nice and all that and still expect great turnouts?
That's almost impossible in this current climate because that's how campaigns are run. And you're absolutely right. Everybody decries it when it's not, when it's happening, and yet it works. That's why it's done over and over and over again at virtually every level. That's one of the things that's nice about me now being back into local politics. We don't really do much of that in the local politics, negative campaign advertising. It can still work, but we generally try to stay away from it, so it's a whole lot nicer down at the county board level.
And speaking of nicer, let's talk a little bit about your campaign, your experience actually hitting the road, because this was your first statewide campaign. You got to see areas that you weren't real familiar with. You got to see issues that you weren't really necessarily on top of. Did it make you feel stronger about the state of Illinois? Because it's easy to bash Illinois. It's not so easy to bash Illinois' people, I guess.
No, it does make me have a lot more hope about the future of Illinois, because you're right. Illinois is an incredibly large and very geographically diverse and diverse in other ways. You know, I like to go down to the Chrysler showroom and Dodges and look at these amazing supercharged motors they have on them, right? So that they can just fly. And I was in a plant where I was seeing those superchargers made, and it's in Illinois, and that was exciting. I saw a lot of manufacturing strength in South Central Illinois, and it's good to see that. Obviously, we want more of that, but you know, we still need to bring this state. And you know, one of the other things that was really compelling for me as I was campaigning was that in the first of the year, shortly after the first year, it became announced that Illinois fell from 5th to 6th in the nation population. We lost to Pennsylvania. Last year, my daughter, son-in-law, grandson, and soon to have granddaughter moved to Pennsylvania because he's in construction and it's hard for him to find work in his home state. That's a cute little anecdote for a campaign trail, but it really is the truth. That really is my heart about this. I want to be able to spoil my grandkids rotten, and that's going to be easiest to do if I don't have to get on a plane or take a long drive to go see them.
Rich Moreland, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure,
We're
Jim.
glad you had an experience, and what an experience it was.
It's stories for a long, long time.
Absolutely. Still ahead, the disaster we don't know about. What are we prepared for here in the cities? But first, spring has sprung. That means a lot of exciting events are popping up all over the place, and Laura Adams joins us with some of the best ideas for you, your family, your friends, as you grab a light jacket and go out and about.
This is Out and About for March 26th through April 1st. Hi, I'm Laura Adams. Extra, extra! Natural Grocers is hosting the healthiest Easter egg hunt around, featuring kid-friendly activities and prizes. Get those Easter baskets ready, all ages welcome. Master woodturner Steve Sinner's exhibit continues at the Figge Art Museum, and kids 6 and older can create their own kaleidoscopes at the Davenport Library March 28th at 2 p.m. Attend the Know Your Rights lecture series at the Davenport Library. The subject, Housing Your Rights as a Tenant, presented by the Davenport Civil Rights Commission. while Ballet Quad Cities brings the poetry of Shel Silverstein to life at the Fairmont branch of the Davenport Library during Dance Me a Story. Bring the whole family to one of John Deere's most popular events, the annual Duck Hatching. Come to John Deere Pavilion March 29th to 31st between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Admission is free. Auditions for the QC Theater Workshop's production of the hilarious musical Reefer Madness is being held March 31st at the theater at 2 p.m. Church Basement Ladies Rise Up, O Men is a brand new musical featuring the men of the church basement and your favorite church basement ladies who serve them, opening at Circa 21. Did Miss Scarlet use a wrench in the kitchen? It's Clue, the musical, continuing its run at the Black Box Theater in downtown Moline. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. It may come as no surprise that Jason Carl is the frontman of Jason Carl and the Whole Damn Band, a group that's been around for years. The band has played many venues throughout the Quad Cities, but we caught up with him in a solo appearance at the River Music Experience. Here's Jason Carl, without the Whole Damn Band, with Crazy Life.
Thinking you should, and knowing you could. Time is just right, and you're feeling pretty good, but you're wondering if it would be alright. With nothing to hide, it's easy to decide. Just move on over and have a look inside, but you're wondering why your mind is so uptight. Well, I'm spinning around in my chair, and I just can't get you over to my side. There ain't no rules in there. It's a box your brain is in. It's a picture painted in your mind. Keep moving ahead and making some bread, saving up a little like your old man said, with a pillow underneath your head every night. There's nothing to lose but an old pair of shoes. You could run around this world almost any way you choose, and as long as things improve, you're doing fine. So I'm spinning around in my chair, 'cause I just can't get you over to my side. I said there ain't no rules in there. It's a box your brain is in. It's a picture painted in your mind. And no one will say what's going on today. The real world ain't real no more. It's standing in your way. I'll take experience over pay every time. You gotta take another look. It ain't written in a book. You can get anything you want. Just talk directly to the cook. And as long as all that took, it sure flew by. I'm spinning around in my chair, oh, 'cause I just can't get you over to my side. I said there ain't no rules in there. It's a box your brain is in. It's only a picture painted in your mind. Keep moving along through an ever-changing song. You gotta do something before you're doing something wrong. And when you're living on the edge, it's a long, crazy life. Oh, thank you guys. All right.
Jason Carl, Crazy Life, from the RME Community Stage in downtown Davenport. Well, we've seen tornadoes, floods, big fires and the like, and we just assume there are first responders ready, willing, and able to help us survive the worst that life throws at us. You may not want to think about it, but all of us must plan for the worst of times. And next week, those professionals who do it for a living will meet for the 2018 Quad Cities Disaster Readiness Conference. And joining us now is one of the coordinators of the conference. David Donovan is the Emergency Management Coordinator for Scott County. Kind of a heavy load responsibility job that is. I still remember when my father did this back in the 70s, and all you ever thought about is the Russians and the bomb. Sure. As far as emergency preparedness goes, that's not the case anymore. It's wide-ranging on exactly what you have to prepare for.
Absolutely, Jim, and again, thanks for having me today. You know, there are literally dozens and dozens of different types of emergencies and disasters that we have to plan for and think about as we prepare to, you know, recover and prepare to move on from something like that.
Do you act, because I'll tell you the truth, I was driving to work yesterday, and I came to a stop just underneath the pedestrian bridge at Augustana College, and I didn't go completely under the bridge. I stayed a couple feet back. Whenever you see a disaster that occurs in another location, is that something that you sit there and go, okay, could we handle that? Or how would we handle that? Or are we prepared?
Sure, and we thought about things like that already with the I-35 bridge disaster that occurred about a decade ago in Minneapolis. So. Yeah, so we think about those things, structural failures. Of course, you don't anticipate something like that happening, but it's always a possibility. You know, and I think the good news is the plans that we utilize, the plans that we have, are what they call all hazards. They're not designed for a specific incident. They're designed to pull all the parts and pieces together to respond to any number of different incidents.
And is this, because it seems like, because the biggest word in your title is coordinator.
Sure.
And let's be honest, I mean, we've got first responders, professionals on both sides of the river. We've got amazing pieces of equipment. We have well-trained professionals. But the key is to bring it all together in a time of incredible need.
Sure, yeah, we're blessed. We have some of the best first responders, firefighters, police officers, EMS personnel that across the country. So we're blessed in that regard. We've got multiple jurisdictions, so we've got multiple departments, much diversity within that force. But yeah, we have to work together in times of crisis because we don't have the capacity within any one of our cities to respond to the largest of the largest disasters. So we have to rely on mutual aid with each other. We have to rely on that coordination, as you mentioned in my title. And it's not all about emergency management. Our first responders do that on a daily basis. You hear about crime scenes that move across jurisdictions all the time. Right. You hear about large structure fires where a Moline Fire Department might be calling on a Bettendorf or a Rock Island firefighter to assist them. So we practice that on a daily basis. We also get together once a month. The Quad City Emergency Planning Committee meets once a month to talk about some of those issues and to coordinate and share information.
Does the Quad City area actually become more of a focal point as far as some disasters only because we are the home of a military installation with the Rock Island Arsenal just smack dab in the middle of all 5 cities?
Sure, it enhances some of the risk that we might have in that there is a federal installation here. But it's not unlike any other population center across the country. Most population centers have institutions, organizations, installations, if you will, that present some risk to them. So we're not unusual that way. I think the bigger challenge for us is the fact that it's several different counties in 2 different states, in 2 different FEMA regions even. And so the guidance from above, if you will, from the states and from those FEMA regions tend to be slightly different. So we have those challenges that we have to work around. We do have the Quad City Power Plant. I heard Jim Morthland talk about that earlier, that the power plant is there. And so that brings us together on a regular basis. And it brings those 2 FEMA regions and those 2 states together too. So we talk about it in that context.
Those are excellent points as well. But it's also interesting that during your conference, you're going to be talking about an issue I wouldn't even think of as far as emergency preparedness is concerned. We're talking about opioids and the drug crisis that has really become a major issue all across America and in the Midwest, of course, just over the last few years. Why is this part of a session on emergency management readiness?
Well, I think this becomes a public health issue for us. Public health is one of our biggest partners. They have folks within each one of the health departments, Rock Island and Scott County, that focus on emergency preparedness. And so they're our biggest partner in many ways, and we work together with them. This preparedness conference has a large public health and healthcare focus to it. It always has, it always will be. Those are big players at the table with us as far as planning is concerned and funding. And so, yeah, it's a big public health emergency. It's an issue. You don't think of it, it's not a tornado.
Right.
But it's one of those silent epidemics, if you will, silent disasters that's out there. It's affecting our community. We have people almost on a daily basis that are overdosing on these opioids, and we have to come to grips with that.
Well, let's be honest, a lot of people at the Readiness Conference are first responders, and it really does show how opioids is affecting every single first responder, either from police, fire, paramedic, all of the professionals that you see, as well as you said, public health.
Absolutely. It's not just a hospital, it's not just public health. Our EMS providers, our firefighters, even our police officers are carrying antidotes and Narcan, if you will, that can help reverse the effects of an overdose. So it affects us all.
The other thing is that we're all enjoying driving by and looking at the beautiful new I-74 bridge that's under construction. But I mean, does that also now add new procedures, new ways of looking at how a major construction project in the middle of the Quad Cities progresses?
Sure. We met early on with both the Iowa and Illinois Departments of Transportation, as well as the first contractors that were on scene here and beginning to do the preliminary work. And so we've been meeting with them. They actually send representatives to those monthly meetings. So they're meeting with us every month, providing us progress. The other thing that they're doing is they're taking our first responders out on boats, out onto those barges, to show them the work processes, so that if there were an accident involving the construction, our first responders sort of understand what they might be getting themselves into, whether it's a confined space or some sort of a technical rescue. If somebody were to get hurt or pass out or be overcome, they sort of know what they're getting into.
Is that unusual, or is that pretty much standard operating procedure when you got a major project like this?
It has to be. It has to be standard operating procedure. You know, they reach out to us and they want to put together a communications plan. And so we begin to ask questions, but it happens virtually everywhere. All the larger construction companies that are doing, either if it's a large vertical building or something like this, a superstructure, a bridge, they would expect to engage with the locals on this.
So you've been a professional, you've been a part of this for a while. What's the greatest need right now? I mean, is it equipment? Is it personnel? Because we hear about fire departments that are understaffed. What seems to be the greatest need as far as the Quad Cities is concerned?
I think it's just awareness. I really do. Yeah, I think you know, we tend to be such a digital society. We focus in on our screens, whether it's a television screen or a personal computer or a device that we're holding in our hand, and we need to look up from those devices and understand the risks that are around us, the hazards that are around us, whether it be that pedestrian bridge that you may be a little suspect of going forward, or whether it's what is the weather forecast for this afternoon? Should I be aware of it as I travel to my son or my daughter's ball game? Is that something I need to be thinking about? Should I be thinking about where the exits are at in this unfamiliar surrounding where I'm at? It's just being aware of what's going on around you, what your risks are, and how you as a person might respond. My biggest message to the community is don't be a victim. You know, be aware and be prepared, have a plan, make a kit, you know, go to Be Red Cross Ready, go to ready.gov. They've got great resources out there for everyone.
David Donovan, Scott County Emergency Management Coordinator, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you for preparing for the worst.
All right, thank you.
We do appreciate that. We are just a few weeks away from WQPT's annual Ready to Learn Early Childhood Conference. It is open to parents, childhood professionals, and child care providers in our area. And you can register right now for the April 21st conference. It includes more than 20 sessions on topics like creating success with toddlers and building strong relationships in classrooms. Head to WQPT.org to get more information and to register for the sessions. The Ready to Learn Conference, once again, held at Western Illinois University Quad Cities campus Saturday morning, April 21st. Well worth your time. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.